Let's begin today's episode with an exercise. This is The Chase, a limited series that's part of the Shallow End podcast feed. And I want you to imagine that your Grail card is available on eBay. And not just available, but available in multiples upon multiples. Not only that, but your Grail has a PSA 10 pop count of nearly 4,800 and a near 60% gem rate. At any point, you can click Buy It Now, and your Grail will be yours. Could you hold off on hitting bin? Could you hold off on hitting bin for nearly 4 years? That's the story of today's guest, Timothy, who on Instagram goes by Monster Collects. That's collects with 2 S's on the end. And for nearly 4 years, Tim refused to buy his Grail card online. He decided early on he wasn't buying his Grail until he could find one in person, not online. And that's exactly what he did. I'm Dave Schwartz, Iowa Dave Sports Cards on Instagram, and welcome to this story about unusual discipline and aspirational patience. I'm excited now to welcome in Timothy. Timothy is Monster Cards on Instagram. Timothy, thanks for being on The Chase. Which card are we talking about today?
We're talking about the PSA 10 Mookie Betts rookie card from 2014.
So that's the 2014 Topps Update Mookie rookie card. What is your tie to Mookie and this card?
I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and he grew up in Nashville, so I decided to just start collecting his cards probably a year ago or two. And I've been looking for this card for years now, so finally acquired it.
So I'm been really excited to talk to you about this card because it's not a card that's all that hard to find. But I was really interested in the story of your devotion to it and to finding the right copy. So about how long ago did you decide that you wanted to get this version of the Mookie rookie?
Right when I kind of got back into cards in 2021, I was like, I want a Mookie Betts rookie card no matter what. And so I decided, I kept on looking through card shows, couldn't find it. I found it on eBay, of course, but I was like, I want to chase it. I want to do it the hard way. So I decided to go to the Nashville card show this year, and I found multiple copies, and I'm like, you know what? We're picking it up today.
So over the last almost 4 years now, since you decided this is a card you wanted in the highest possible grade, certainly it came across eBay at times. That's not how you wanted to get it, but would you still look at it eBay sometimes and just sort of daydream or fantasize or think about the kind of version you'd want to get?
Yes, all the time. It would be like the easier way out, and I'm like, I just can't do it right now. It's the patience. I'll find it eventually.
So what was that like? Because that card is so in your face. How did you decide? Maybe you didn't decide. Maybe it's just sort of your nature. Are you a patient person sort of by nature, or did you have to work at it with this one?
This one I really had to work at it. It was a temptation that I had, and I was like, I just can't. I have to get it in person. I just told myself that every single time.
And did you have opportunities before sometime over the last few years to do it and you just hadn't pulled the trigger, or had you never seen one in person?
I have never seen one in person,
Isn't
and
that isn't that interesting? I'm sorry to cut you off, but just that is so fascinating that the at card shows, you're down in Tennessee, I'm up in Iowa, and I was just noticing at a card show I went to a couple weeks ago. We don't get a whole lot of them out there, but there was one about 25 minutes from my house, and I went up, and there are cards that you can find so many of on eBay, PSA 10, PSA 10, PSA 10, but at the card show they're either raw or eights or nines. And have you ever thought about what it is about the live experience in which these PSA 10s are hard to come by?
yeah, I just think it's some people don't like to sell them at the shows or online too because of the fees and stuff. But at the shows, it's like maybe they PC them and they don't want to get rid of them, and it's just a tough. Sometimes it's really tough to find them, and it was really exciting.
What kind of and we'll get to the moment where you finally grab it here in just a moment. But what kind of trends have you noticed either with Mookie himself or his cards or this card in particular as you have sort of followed it since 2021 in terms of ups and downs and prices and availability? What have you seen from your as you in your words your stalking end?
Definitely. Obviously, they won the World Series this year, so the price was definitely a little bit higher than I wanted to pay. So I waited till after the off season. Like, I mean, I just bought it like maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was like, this is the right price. I think I think I paid like 150 for it, so it was a pretty fair, I'd say, pretty fair deal in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's completely. And I'm looking at Card Ladder now. I have it pulled up, and yeah, you're right where you should be. Even got a pretty good deal on it, which I'm sure is because it was in person. You didn't sell it, or didn't have to worry about fees
Yeah,
or anything like that. So, which card show were you at in Tennessee in which it appeared?
I was at the national, um, is what they call it with quotations. The Nashville Card Show is pretty much what it's named,
And
but
that's a big card show, right? I mean, there are hundreds of
yeah,
tables there. Were you there by yourself? Were you there with friends? Who were you there with?
I was with my friend Aaron, and he actually just left because we were about to leave, and I was about to leave, and I saw it, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm buying it right now.
This is the moment, right? So
Last table.
always, right? So it's the last table. So how long were you there? About how long have you been there that day?
I think I was there for 4 hours.
You're there for 4 hours. Presumably, it was in that person's showcase all or most of that time, and
Mhm.
yet you never saw it until you was on your way out. And were you just kind of glancing? Was it in your periphery? How did you notice it in the showcase?
I was actually selling one of my grails that I had. Um, it was my Paul Goldschmidt at a 150 9.5, and I was selling it. I didn't want to sell it, but I needed the cash to pay for other cards. And I looked to the right and I see it, and I'm like, well, there's half the money.
And
And
it was, and what was your did your do you think your pulse started to race? Did you try to play it cool? How did you handle it?
I was like, I really want to get this deal over with so I can go buy the card. Like, I don't care. Just offer me the number and we're gonna call it. Just call it.
I know. I'm imagining somebody else coming up to the table, right? Just as you're trying to make a,
Mhm.
move the Goldschmidt or whatever else and grabbing it. So you're like, come on, just get this thing done, right?
Yes, exactly. I think I was definitely like my pulse was racing.
Yeah, no doubt. It's 2021. The hobby was in a different
Mhm.
place than it is now. Prices are still too much for sports cards, but they're
Exactly.
not as much as they were 4 years ago. That's when they started to trickle down a little bit, but they were still really high at that point. That's a long time to wait for a card that has a pop of just under 4,800, I believe,
Yeah.
in a pop 10. I am so endlessly impressed by the patience that you had. What How do you think it would have been different had you just bought it off eBay at some point?
It would not feel like a goal. Like, yeah, it'd be cool to have the card, but it would just feel like a normal purchase off of eBay. It wouldn't be like, oh, I found this other card show. It took me 4 years to find it. I could have just, bought it off of eBay.
Yeah. And how often do you get to card shows?
Twice a year usually.
So that gave you anywhere between like 7 and 10 opportunities, somewhere 8 to 10 opportunities over the last 4 years to see it in person.
Actually, my first card show was in 2023, so
Oh, yeah.
only four. I think it was four attempts.
So that's not bad. But so it finally popped up. Were you ever tempted? Was there ever temptation to just buy it online?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And how did you fight that off?
Definitely just. I mean, I'm not the type of person to have a lot of self-control, but this was the main self-control I had. Like one of the only times I've had self-control buying things off it, not buying things off of eBay.
Yeah. And we know that not all PSA 10s are created equal. How does yours look in hand?
I definitely looked at it for a long period of time. It's definitely a PSA 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Crisp corners, nice edges, nice
Exactly.
centering, everything else. So how does it? So you got it right. You mentioned that your pulse was elevated a little bit when you got it. You got it in hand. It was all yours, and then I presume you leave the card show after that since you were on your way out. What was it like just sort of being an owner of this card? What's the last few weeks been like?
Definitely, I'm gonna keep it forever.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give it to my kids, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely a good feeling. Like I can check it off the accomplishments for my goals for cards, 100%.
Right. And so I'm sure you probably just keep it with your other slabs or wherever. But have you pulled it out over the last few weeks to take a look at it since you brought it home?
Um, a few times. I think it's still in the case.
Yeah. So in the case, so it's there now. You've got it. So there are some times when people will say that once you finally get the card that you've worked hard to get, or in your case, like shown the patience to to wait for just the right copy, the one that you can see in person before you lay down your hard-earned money, right? That there's a bit of an adrenaline crash or a bit of a letdown. Have you experienced not letdown, but a bit of a come down, I should say, once you've got it? Have you personally experienced anything like that where you've got it and now it's like, well, what do I do now or what's next?
Definitely. It's definitely now it's like what's the next goal? What are we gonna buy next?
Mhm.
What are we gonna look for at a card show or online and feel the same kind of high kind of feeling? You know what I'm like yeah, the excitement high.
Yeah, right. I know what you're saying, right? Because it's there and it's real, right? And for some, it's the high of the mail day. For you, in this case, it was the high of a 4-year chase culminating. You mentioned that you sometimes felt tempted by eBay or wherever else. Did any of your buddies in the hobby, how did they support you or encourage you or tempt you at all over the last few years? Did they say, just get one?
Definitely just I mean, they didn't really I don't think I've ever talked about it with them to be honest with you. I've always just kind of kept it like I'm gonna get it eventually and then I'll show it off. Like I kind of just kept it a secret until I bought it.
Right. So it's like this, it almost like sounds like this internal quest, right? This internal journey. Like you know what card you want. You know how you want to get it. And if it shows up, great. If it doesn't, fine. But I'm going to do it my way. Is that right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Terrific.
It's like a mini goal.
Yeah. It's not many, right? Give yourself I bet, and I have not performed any kind of a survey, but I bet if you surveyed 1,000 collectors and said, if the card that you wanted most came up on eBay, could you ignore it for 4 years and just wait till you see it in person? What I mean,
Probably 10%.
yeah, maybe. I think you're giving the hobby too much credit. Yeah, that's impressive. So, what is next for you now? We were talking offline before a little bit before we hit record here. Mookie Betts is someone who you admire. He's from the area where you live down in Tennessee, but he's not your main PC. Who is like your main PC?
Definitely Colton Wong. Colton Wong, Jordan Walker, and Frank Thomas are
Okay.
my mains.
Right. So Colton Wong, Jordan Walker. Colton Wong was a Cardinal, has since moved on. Jordan Walker is the prospect. Cardinal fans like you and I hope finally gets 600 plate appearances this year, right?
Yes,
Frank Thomas is
exactly.
Frank Thomas. You did a good job of keeping your goal secret for 4 years. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Do you have a card for any of those three that you're hoping to grab at some point?
Jordan Walker, I'm looking at a 1 of 1 PSA 10 right now, and I don't know if I can pull the trigger. Frank Thomas, I already have my Grail card. I actually met him, so he already signed it for me.
Oh, cool.
And Colton Wong, I'm just collecting all the rainbows at this point. Like,
That's great. And I think this is a story. I keep saying the word patience, but I don't want to keep fluffing it up that way. But there's a lesson there in discipline, and I don't think I made the connection until just now because you mentioned this Jordan Walker card. But you're saying that's a lot of money to commit to someone, whether they are a prospect the way he is, or heck, the money you spent on Mookie is a lot of money as well, and he's almost a guaranteed Hall of Famer. The discipline and the patience that you show, what has it been built up over time since you got into the hobby, or is it just sort of it comes and it goes?
it definitely comes and goes. Sometimes, some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, I want to join a break. And then some days I want to go buy $300 worth of cards on eBay. And then some days I'm like, you know what, we're going to save this week. And then the next week it's like, oh, then you spend a hefty amount of the money you just saved for the card that you're looking for. But definitely Mookie was the easiest to hold for a really long time. Like the patience.
Yeah, sure. So, and when you look at that card now, you'll always know what it took to get to it. You'll know that you waited and you achieved your goal. So last question as we let you go here. Let's say roles were reversed a little bit and one of your friends in the hobby had a similar goal. Let's say they wanted to get a pristine, like you did, they want to get a pristine copy of a card that is not easy to get, but also not complete, not a 1 of 1, right? Kind of like your Mookie. Let's say I don't know who. Let's say Nolan Arenado or Mike Trout or Ohtani or somebody, and they just wanted to get a PSA 10 of a card that's out there, and they were starting to waver a little bit. What would you say to them to encourage them to just wait? It'll come up. What would you say to them to tell them to hold off for the right time?
If it's meant to be, it'll happen. I know it's
Perfect.
kind of cliche, but it is. It's the right thing to say.
It is, and it's a motto, it's a creed that people know, but they can't always activate within themselves. So, Tim, thank you for sharing your story. It was exactly what I hoped it was be. It's a fantastic story of patience, of discipline, and ultimately of a really satisfactory ending. So, everyone, check out Tim's Instagram at Monster Collects. And Tim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.